The blackest night falls from the skies. The darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your heart and your demise. By my black hand, the dead shall rise. Welcome, everyone, to the next issue. I'm your host, The Power Trip, and today is the final episode of our month-long Halloween spectacular, The Black Lantern Corps versus the Marvel Zombies. If you've been keeping up with our previous episodes, then you know we've gone over the strengths, weaknesses, and origins of both the Black Lanterns and the Marvel Zombie universe. In this week's final episode, we're actually going to touch base on how those strengths and weaknesses might play in an actual battle between the Black Lanterns and the Marvel Zombies. Not to mention one last little bit of why they would even be fighting in the first place, which is a nice little Easter egg for anyone that ever read the original copy of Marvel Zombies. Now, as I've mentioned before, the Marvel Zombies and the Black Lanterns both managed to keep their hosts, as the Hunger is possessing the Marvel characters and the Black Lantern Ring is possessing the DC characters. They keep their normal meta or mutant abilities. So the old nostalgic Marvel versus DC aspect still comes into play, albeit just a little differently, namely because of, say, Wolverine or Hulk's healing factor no longer being an issue, and some characters also having their morals, actually most of the characters in this fight having their morals either repressed or discarded along the way, both from the Marvel side of the Hunger taking over and basically making it to where their fight for survival for food overpowers any care they once had of eating even their loved ones, to the Black Lanterns basically not really truly being, I guess what you'd say, who they really are, since it's the ring controlling them and their souls aren't really there anymore. Now, if you're curious about why I mentioned the soul part, it's because one of the main characters, if not technically the secondary main character of the Blackest Night story, even though technically it's kind of he's a support character, but he still has one of the biggest plot threads in there, and that would be Deadman. You see, Deadman being the ghost that he is, and that being his soul, his body ends up being captured by the Black Lanterns, and the ring takes over and does like any other Black Lantern does, and uses his memories and his actions to get emotional response from people. But the whole time, Deadman in ghost form, his soul, is actually fighting to take back his body and help the other heroes out. So, while at the end of this, spoiler warning now for anybody who's not read and may want to turn this off now, the White Lanterns do bring several characters back to life. It is because they are being brought back to life by the entity of life itself that their souls are being attached back into their body as they are being brought back to life, but their souls aren't there while they are Black Lanterns. Now, this argument also is what makes the Marvel Zombies that much scarier, because Zombie Peter, Zombie Captain America, Zombie Iron Man, Zombie Thor, that's them. The Hunger has just driven them basically mad, or to the point where they've already done these horrible things, so they either suppress the memory or care, or they just move on. But either way, they're being driven by the Hunger, but it's still them in their body. And that's actually a pretty scary idea to think of. Whereas, say if I die and I'm brought back as a Black Lantern, by DC standards, my soul is wherever it's going to end up in the afterlife, and it's just technically my body being controlled by a black ring that's also being controlled by Death itself, Necron. So I technically am in no form of control of this. But a Marvel zombie, if I were to be bitten and driven by the hunger is going to force me to do some really bad things. And by the end of it, it's still me in there in the driver's seat. And what I do whenever I get my fill and my mind becomes stable for a little while is totally my own personal decisions. Just that can be a pretty big compromise there, because the Marvel zombies technically aren't what you would consider evil, though normal zombies aren't really evil. They're just, once again, they're driven by a hunger. It's not their fault. It's just something they can't fight against. They try, they have moments of clarity after they've consumed, and they try to come up with ways to get past it, but ultimately, they fail. Now, in the long run of Marvel Zombies, it has been proven that if a zombie goes without eating for a very long period of time, the hunger goes into, uh, it's repressed. And because of that, they basically become like their normal selves permanently, but zombified. This still doesn't bring back Wolverine's healing factor or anything, but at least then they don't have that hunger there. They have all the benefits, and pros and cons of being a zombie, just without the hunger. Now, given if they accidentally eat any flesh or drink any blood or anything like that, the hunger will come back with a vengeance. But so long as that doesn't happen, they are now in control of their zombie forms. Whereas a Black Lantern only has one instance of this happening, and that being if a Black Lantern is created not from someone that is dead, but from someone that has been brought back to life and is currently living and is forced to be a Black Lantern. This exception is used as Wonder Woman. Whenever the Violet Ring of Love wants to attach to her during the Blackest Night, and she's a Black Lantern at the time, given she's not dead, but she's a character that had died, and because she had that tether, Necron was able to quote-unquote kill her by putting a black ring on her. Basically just make her a zombie that way. But she was still technically living slash death in there, so, unliving. But kind of the whole thing I was mentioning with Dead Man, this is another rare moment where the character's soul is trapped in there, but it's repressed, I guess you would say, because the characters at that point can still be killed because they're not fully a zombie. Now, given if you kill I guess for lack of better terms, a living Black Lantern, it would then just be a full-on Black Lantern, but at this point I'm rambling. The point is so long as it's an entity that was living when the ring was put on them, they have the ability to fight back. Now, the only person that was able to do this at the time was Wonder Woman. Even Superman wasn't able to fight it off. Wonder Woman was actually able to choose her love and choose the ring, the Violet Ring, over the Black Ring. And so while later on the White Rings are able to latch on and get rid of the Black Ring, this was the only time the character is able to choose that over that. There is a secondary time later on during the New 52 in an instance where Hal Jordan's a Black Lantern, and he's won by choice. And the play on this is if you have enough willpower, given Hal Jordan being the most willpower-fueled character in the DC Universe, you are able to take basically utter control of the Black Lantern ring and even Necron itself. But you have to have that willpower. A Marvel zombie, no matter how much willpower it has, unless it's forced to not eat for a long period of time, it's not going to get past that hunger at all. So those are different forms of how they can get their control back. Now, Hal Jordan being the only one that was able to get the control through his willpower and still keep a black ring, he is, as they basically labeled him, the greatest Black Lantern ever, because he was able to control the entity of death he was able to control being dead instead of being controlled by Necron itself. So this is pretty much the epitome at this point between the power of Necron and Hal Jordan's willpower of how powerful the Black Lanterns can be. Their black battery being powered by the Anti-Monitor, the being that caused the original crisis on Infinite Earths and wiped out almost the entire original multiverse. Ring that, through sheer willpower of Hal Jordan, is able to control the entity of death itself to do his bidding, versus the epitome of the Marvel zombies, and that is Ant-Man, Wolverine, Hulk, and Spider-Man, and one other. Oh, sorry. Okay, so Wolverine, Iron Man, Spider-Man, the Hulk, Luke Cage, and if I hadn't already said it, Ant-Man. These characters being powered by Galactus / Silver Surfer, so they have the power cosmic after devouring them, and able to unite their power to devour whole worlds at a time. So let's take that into account. Your greatest Black Lantern versus the most powerful version of the Marvel zombies to date. And that being basically a battle of the power cosmic versus a battle versus basically the power of death itself. Which one ends up being the more powerful thing here? It could be argued that since Hal Jordan is basically in control of death, that he could just have this big powerful entity that cannot die, and even if you were to consume him, his body is normally just a normal Black Lantern being's body. He just morphs it into whatever he wants. So even if the Marvel zombies were able to consume him, there's no guarantee that they could do like they did with Galactus and gain his power. In fact, it's more likely that if he's in a normal body, a normal human being, they would gain nothing. But if they got lucky enough that he was, say, possessing Superman's body, and morphed that into his new body, and they still managed to consume him, there's a chance that they would get Superman's abilities off of this. Now, by that same token, Necron's power is no pushover, and being controlled by Hal Jordan, it's definitely very, very out there. The best example I have of that would be in the issue from the story revolving the First Lantern in the New 52 Green Lantern books. Hal Jordan is able to use Necron to basically to kill Volthoom, who is at that point, he is just absolutely immeasurably powerful with a ring that when it makes constructs, they are real. They're not just hard-like constructs like a normal lantern. His power is crazy. And Hal Jordan being able to use Necron's power to defeat him shows that he's up there with being able to handle a team of cosmically powered zombies. But let's not forget here that the one thing the zombies have to do, the one way that they could easily stop their battle in a heartbeat, is to get rid of the tether. Necron can only be brought into this if he has a tether, whether it's Hal Jordan when he controls him, or Black Hand during the Blackest Night. If they can stop Jordan or Black Hand or whoever his tether is at that moment, Necron is banished, and while the zombies didn't technically destroy their foe, unless something happens, Necron's not coming back, and the zombies basically get full reign to devour the universe. So in turn with this, Jordan, or Black Hand, depending on which way you want to go, but we'll say Jordan because Jordan has full control here with his willpower of basically he can control the army of the Black Lanterns. He can control Necron himself. He becomes the giant target if the Marvel zombies can figure that out. He becomes the target, and it's a 6-on-1 fight. Given the rest of the Black Lanterns come, Necron comes, and the Marvel zombies are still surrounded. But all they've got to do is converge on Jordan and find some way to stop him. Whether that's completely obliterate him, get the ring off of him, or, just some way to stop Jordan. Then Necron's gone. The battle's over. By that same token, all Jordan needs to do, even though these guys are cosmically powered, it still didn't bring back, say, Wolverine's healing factor. These guys, all it takes is one good shot of completely obliterating their brain or their entire body, but specifically to get rid of a Marvel zombie, as we've covered before, is just to get rid of their brain, not a part of it. It has to be the whole brain, or they're going to keep coming. So, anybody that's ever watched a zombie flick is going to know that the brain's where you attack. Now, given this could be a throw off, for all we know, Jordan zaps off half of Spidey's brain, and because Spidey's still coming, Jordan assumes this is no longer a weakness. So he doesn't keep going after the brain. Not realizing that it technically is just he doesn't realize it's got to be the whole thing. So we start getting into basically, we go from our own fun little what if story to how would the writers write it at this point. Would Jordan try to hit the brain, assume it doesn't work, and try something else? Would he hit the brain early and then later on hit the rest of it by accident, realize he had it right the first time and keep going? Or would it even matter? Would he manage to take out 2 or 3 of them and the rest of them just take out Jordan? Let's not forget that all they've got to do to get rid of a Black Lantern is basically destroy the ring or bring the character back to life, but I've yet to see any of the Marvel zombies with that ability. So at this point, we're running on the sheer fact of just being able to destroy the ring somehow. And if 6 cosmically powered zombies can come together to devour a planet, I don't see why they can't come together. With hopefully, if they would have some chance of like a moment of getting away from the horde of Black Lanterns and Necron long enough, but a moment enough to concentrate their power together and focus it all on Jordan. Once again, they have to get through all the DC Black Lantern zombies coming after them. And that's, that could be Superman, that could be Wonder Woman, the Justice League, that could be the villains even coming after them, as well as Necron himself being used as a weapon. These are 6 cosmically powered zombies that are not used to hiding, per se, all of a sudden forced into trying to find some place to hide to where they can use this ultimate attack and be able to focus it on Hal Jordan, or even just his ring specifically. So there are several ways that this fight could go back and forth, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys, the viewers, to place your votes. All you have to do is follow us at the Culture Cache on Twitter and give us a hashtag. Hashtag Black Lanterns or hashtag Marvel Zombies on our Twitter account. You have until the wonderful hour of midnight of Halloween. After that, I will be counting our votes, and I will let you know on the next issue who would win, or who you guys think would win anyway, of the Black Lanterns versus the Marvel Zombies. Now, as one last bonus treat for you tonight, I'm going to go into one little bit of extra discussion. First off, I would like to say how cool would it be to not only see this fight, to see some of these things that you wouldn't normally get to see. You already have seen Marvel vs. DC several times, but what happens, if a Marvel zombie bites, infects a Black Lantern with the hunger? Does the hunger override the Black Lantern's ring? Because, see, the difference here is the hunger can drive even the purest man to do some of the worst things imaginable just to consume. The Black Lantern ring only drives somebody long enough to get the power of for Necron to get more powerful. And so the Black Lantern drive to do things, to consume emotional energy, is only as powerful as Necron's hunger. So it really comes down to, is the virus hunger from the Marvel Zombies universe more powerful or more thriving than Necron's hunger for power to be released into our universe? Um, which one would override which? By that matter, would if a Marvel's hunger is greater, would a Black Lantern ring landing on a Marvel zombie even matter? Would it just fall right off? Obviously, Marvel zombies are going to still show emotions, but some of them don't even have their hearts. So a standard Black Lantern that's not being controlled by, say, Jordan, that's just doing its normal thing, is going to go for their heart to get that emotional energy. And like I said, there's the zombie heart of some of these zombies don't even have their hearts anymore. So a Black Lantern may reach in, find nothing, and even if they grab something, even if they manage to get, say, Spider-Man's heart, which is dead, but still giving off emotional energy, and they consume that, that doesn't stop a Marvel zombie. They're still going to be fighting back the whole time. So yes, you're giving Necron more power to where he can be released into the universe, but that Marvel zombie's still coming. You haven't lessened thin their line at all, so that you're not hurt their army. It's their brain you got to go after there. So it's really fun to to think about these interactions that could happen if this battle were to occur. Of like I mentioned, the Marvel zombie biting a Black Lantern, or even this Black Lantern's trying to get the emotional power from a Marvel zombie. It would definitely be something I would love to see in a movie, if not a comic. To be honest, just to see a zombie on zombie fight. Now, it's you see a lot of these superhero movies and stuff everywhere. Comic book things are all over the place nowadays. But to see that type of movie, you just it would be definitely a first. I mean, a Marvel versus DC movie already more than likely is almost completely unheard of, but specifically a Marvel Zombies versus Black Lantern movie, that would just be crazy. Let alone, say, a comic. Now, the last little bit I'm going to give you, and this little treat, like I mentioned before, if you read the original version of Marvel Zombies, you know this. Marvel Zombies #1 was released around the same time as Infinite Crisis. And you catch this when you get into the Marvel Zombies whenever they're explaining how the infection first started. And it references this being punching his way into another universe, or at least because of a punch. They think it could have been because of a punch. And this is a reference to the punch heard around the multiverse of Superboy Prime from Infinite Crisis. It's also been shown and mentioned about how when they show the clip, the picture real quick of the first zombie that infected the Marvel Universe, he's got that spit curl, and originally he had a bluish outfit on. This is a reference. Originally, that was supposed to be Superman. This zombified Superman from a zombified DC universe, due to Superboy's multiversal punch, landed in this version of the Marvel Universe and caused or spread the zombie infection. I won't say caused it because he had it already, but this would be the beginnings of the Marvel Zombie versus Blackest Night. And that would be all because of zombified Superman, due to a crisis, ended up punching his way into the Marvel Zombies universe, and thus the two end up fighting. I hope you've enjoyed our month-long Halloween special, and I can't wait to see what all you guys think about who would win in your, who you guys would love to see win between the Marvel Zombies and the Black Lantern Corps. Remember, follow the Culture Cache on Twitter, and give us a hashtag Black Lanterns, or hashtag Marvel Zombies. You have until midnight this Halloween, and I will let you guys know the results, as well as have a whole new topic for us next week. I'll see you again for the next issue.